At this stage of the course, you should be familiar with creating and working with formulas. But you don't always have to create your own formulas. As you'll soon discover, Excel offers predefined formulas called functions that you can use to perform calculations. In this video, you'll discover what function formulas are, explore their syntax, and learn how to use them to perform calculations. Over at AdventureWorks, the company is approaching the end of its financial year. Lucas in Accounts has been tasked with calculating the total quarterly sales for each regional sales team. You can help Lucas carry out this task using Excel function formulas. But first, you need to learn what functions are and recognize their syntax. Let's begin by defining a function. A function is a predefined formula that performs a calculation based on values specified by the user. For example, a simple function could total the values in 2 cells, or a more complex function could calculate repayments on a bank loan. Functions are useful because they allow for more complex calculations. They also facilitate dynamic content that responds to changes in the worksheet. Excel contains many built-in functions. These built-in functions are grouped into different categories, which can be accessed from the Formulas tab or ribbon. There are several categories visible when you access this ribbon. Select the More Functions option to view the others. These categories are organized so that you can locate the functions most relevant to your day-to-day requirements. For example, Excel offers functions for financial, date and time, and math calculations. You'll explore each of these categories in more details as you progress through the course. You can also refer to the Microsoft page Excel Functions by Category article link in the additional resources. So now that you know what a function is, let's explore its elements. The first element of a function formula is the name of the function. This takes the form of a single word, such as sum. The sum function adds all the values within a selected range of cells. The second element of the formula is the arguments. As you've just learned, a function calculates data. This data or information is referred to as an argument. The data it accepts is also custom. You can add your own information to the formula to direct and control the action of the function. It's important to remember that each function requires a different list of arguments. Some arguments are mandatory. A function can't carry out its task without them. However, other arguments are optional. They exist to provide different choices around additional elements, like formatting your results. So, how do you construct a function formula? Like any other calculation, a function formula begins with an equal sign. You then need to write the function name. For example, equals followed by sum. The next step is to write the arguments. Arguments are contained within a pair of parentheses. So begin by typing an open parenthesis, then list the arguments. As an example, you could follow a sum function with the argument open parenthesis C2 colon C4. Make sure to separate arguments from one another using characters such as commas or colons instead of spaces or periods. When you've finished typing your arguments, end your function formula with a closing parenthesis. You now have an argument that instructs Excel to add all data in cells C2 to C4. When executed, this formula returns a result that calculates the values within this cell range. Function formulas can contain more complex arguments, but this simple example is a great starting point to help familiarize you with the syntax. Now that you know how to construct a basic function formula, let's make use of your new skills and help Lucas create a sum function to obtain the totals for AdventureWorks sales figures. AdventureWorks sales data is contained in an Excel workbook called Annual Sales Totals. The workbook contains a worksheet called Sheet 1. This sheet contains 5 columns. The first column lists the months of the year, 1 month per row. The other 4 columns contain the names and data for each regional sales team. Each column contains 12 sales totals, 1 for each month. Let's begin by calculating the sales totals for Team A. First, you need to place the cursor on the cell where the result of your function must appear. Place your cursor on cell B14 underneath the sales data for Team A. This is the cell where the overall sales total must appear. Now you can write your function. First, type an equal sign. Then type the name of your function. In this instance, you need to add the data, so you can use a sum function. Function names are not case sensitive. You can type them in upper or lowercase. Once written, Excel displays them in uppercase. As you type the word sum, a list of suggested functions appears. This list is a useful shortcut for accessing functions quickly. But for now, you can continue typing the formula. Now that you've stated the name of your function, you need to outline your arguments. Type in open parenthesis. A floating help message appears with argument prompts. If the prompt is in bold, then the argument is required. If the argument is in square parentheses, then it is optional. In other words, it's not required for the function to work. In this instance, you're writing a custom argument. Type B2 colon B13. Then type a closing parenthesis to end your argument. The sum function and your custom argument instruct Excel to calculate or add the numeric total of all data in cells B2 to B13, just like the example you explored earlier. Press Enter to execute the function. The result shows that Team A's sales total for the year was $971,000. Now that you've calculated the sales total for Team A, you can copy the function formula to the other cells in the row using the autofill shortcut. Select cell B14, position the mouse pointer over the bottom right-hand corner of the cursor to turn it into a black cross. Hold down the mouse button and drag the cursor to the right as far as cell E14. As it copies the data from cell to cell, Excel also adjusts the formula to total the cells in each column for the remaining teams. Lucas now has the sales totals for each of AdventureWorks' sales teams. Thanks to your help, Lucas successfully created the function formula he needed to complete his task. And having assisted Lucas, you should now know what functions are, be able to read the syntax of a function, and know how to use a function to perform a calculation.